Right, so as Doug and Tom said, I'm going to talk to you about managing pasture quality over the next few weeks, so late spring, early summer. And although things have been very challenging this season, this spring so far, it's important to keep in mind that there are key basic principles of grazing management that need to be remembered and focus on those going forward in the next few weeks. So first of all of you will know that better feed management will increase profit, and I'm sure you've all heard of that, especially the last 2 years with a low payout. So focusing on high quality pasture throughout the season as much as you can. That's the size of a prize for your farm systems. So I took some results from modeling from and research results from DairyNZ, and that's just here showing on that slide. I've got an improvement from what we call poor feed management up to good, so a farmer doing a great pasture management on his farm, and the cost of this, or the benefit of this, would be up to $300 per hectare increase in profit in your pocket. So that really reminds you that how did that occur as well? Really, this was achieved by achieving better grazing residuals, so more often to target residuals of 1,500–1,600 throughout the season, and also more accurate feed allocation throughout the season. And all of this resulted in higher milk production, hence the higher profit. And I'm sure you've all heard of that before. So the grazing management has a major influence in milk production. On the short term, as you know, daily milk yield is related directly to pasture intake, but also on the longer term. So the grazing severity in one season, say now, will have some impact on the next season, right? So it's always important to keep that in mind. And why are you in the hunt for high quality pasture every day? So that's the question for you. And I guess an example for this, and again, I don't think many people will see, but I've got a slide here showing 2 levels of ME for pasture quality. So we've got 11 ME versus 10 ME. And the impact this has on the amount of pasture the cow is going to be able to eat, right? So for a ME of 11, the cow will achieve an intake of 17. If you offer a grass of 10 ME only, sorry, Doug, that intake is lower of a kilo. So we've got 16 kg of dry matter. So we are losing there. And in terms of mixed solids, 11 ME, you'll get 1.9 kg of mixed solids per day. And only 10 ME, you get 1.5 kg of milk produced per day. Okay, so those were early spring results, but the principle applies even now, right? The relativity is the same. The higher quality pasture, the higher intake, the more milk. But this time of the year is challenging, okay, because ryegrass is naturally producing more stem and seed heads, and it's going reproductive. So overall, this tends to decrease the pasture quality. This is just happening as the ryegrass is genetically driven to do that. And I guess here, just reminder that stem that's produced, it's way lower quality. It's down to 6 or 7 ME as opposed to a green leaf between 10.5 or even really high up to 12. Okay, so we really want to maximize the amount of leaf and nothing else. So achieving the target residuals of 1,500 to 1,600 throughout the season as much as you can will help you control the development of those reproductive tillers and the emergence of seed heads. So let's take an example, and that's in your handout, page 42, from a demonstration that was run at Scott Farm, which is not very far, Hamilton. So last year, DairyNZ scientists compared one farmlet where some cows were grazing to the target residuals of 1,500 to 1,600. So during the spring, early spring to December, with another group of cows which were grazing to high residuals, 1,800 to 2,000 kg of dry matter per hectare. And after December, the groups were managed similarly, so those treatments were stopped, but we continued to follow the cows, so we can measure the carryover effect of the spring management later in the season, so in summer, autumn pasture, quality and composition, but also on milk solids. So the key results, so if you look at the first table, page 42, so you can see in spring, and the pasture composition, so the proportion of leaf, or stem, or dead material, was pretty similar between the two groups. Okay, so target residuals versus high residuals, actually not a lot of difference in the pasture on offer in terms of composition. But then in summer, autumn, so the second part of the table, we can see that the farmlets that was grazed to high residuals back in the spring had a much higher proportion of dead material. And also the leaf and the soft stem content, so that highly nutritious stuff, was lower. Okay. So as you know, the leaves have a limited lifespan. So if you leave feed behind, if you waste feed behind, those leaves are going to die, right? So this, in consequence, is the dead matter that we found in the summer, autumn pastures. In terms of, so if you look at table 2 now, in terms of nutritive value of a pasture, in the spring, again, no differences really between the two groups in terms of AMI, crude protein, or NDF. But in summer and autumn, look at the AMI, we are down from 10.8 on the farmlet which was grazed to target residuals, down to 10 only on the farmlet which used to be grazed to higher residuals. So again, the changes in pasture composition really reflect the lower AMI offered to the cows later in the season. In addition to this, there was lower milk solids yield for the cows that used to graze to higher residuals. Okay, so there was about 4% decrease. And this was the result of lower nutritive value offered. So I guess the key message is from this, and it's probably not new for a lot of you here, but really needs to be reminded, that keeping grazing residuals in target at this time of the year will have an impact, will have positive impact on later in the season, so this summer and later in autumn as well. But again, coming back to what was said today, especially what Tom said, is a key learning from this spring is that it can be really difficult to achieve residuals, especially in wet weather, and compromise need to be made to make sure that those pastures are not pugged and damaged. So that often means that higher residuals are going to be there, okay? But there are also options, obviously, to correct this type of management, and something it probably good if Tom wants to bring his own feedback, and we can discuss further in the paddock, but such as topping after the cows, so allowing the cows to go in there and eat the really good stuff, so all those good leaves, and they will reject all the stem material or the dead matter. So that's another option. The second one, and I'm sure a few of you have been doing this, is pre-grazing mowing. So in wet weather like this, if residuals haven't been achieved in the past rotations, that could be an option to restore quality. Okay, so with this method, there's still a lot of question marks around, does it increase intake? Does it increase or reduce pasture growth rate? There's still a few question marks around that. And I'd like to point out, it's in your handout, page 44, that there's actually a trial going on at the moment at the Lincoln University Research Farm on pre-grazing mowing. And you can actually sign up. If you go on the DairyNZ website, you can sign up for the updates. So I would recommend you. Bearing in mind, results are delivered on the go, so they haven't been analyzed. So just keep in mind, until the trial finishes in February, we won't know for sure what treatment is better than another's. But basically, they are comparing mowing versus not mowing, so just grazing, and also they are comparing low covers and high covers on two of those treatments. So yes, we are looking forward for the results of this to bring more answers for you farmers. So I guess another few things to key points to think about for the next few weeks is extending the round, thinking of this from December coming up. So to boost the pasture cover, to push the feed ahead of the cows, and should you have any small surplus on farm, would you use that to push the feed ahead? The other thing is nitrogen application. So yes, late November, early December is generally a good time to do that. Making sure moisture is not limiting. Okay, so you don't go too late in putting up fertilizer. And rates could vary between 25 to 35 kg of N per hectare. So yeah, again, to boost pasture cover and stimulate those vegetative tillers which are going to come through now, and make sure you've got some feed for the coming months. All right, that's for me. Any questions? Or I can also take them in the paddock if some people want to go.
Hi.
Hi.
What about overgrazing? I never really see any research on overgrazing.
Yeah, that's good, because I've actually done that research myself in Ireland, so good question. So overgrazing, yes, that's a risk coming into the summer, lower feed on hand, and people would tend to overgraze, but that's not a good practice. So as you know, the reserves of the plants are in the 4 or 5 centimeters of a plant. So if you do graze constantly below that point, you are going to deplete those reserves. And the main result of that is that persistence is going to be affected. So yeah, you want to protect those tillers over the next few months and try definitely not to graze below those 1500. Yeah.
So in relation to the mowing so far, so you've gone around pretty much 100% of the farm. How deep or how long will you carry on with that strategy for, do you think? Just bearing in mind, I guess, what's ahead of us and what happened last year with facial eczema and what's happening with pasture quality and what you're seeing, how long will you keep that strategy up for?
Probably wouldn't carry on topping it too far into December. Just don't want to leave too much trash in the base of the pasture in concerns of eczema. Yeah, we've done nearly 100% of the farm what we can mow, and now I'm just picking paddocks. Yeah, going forward where we need to, but we're certainly at our stocking rate. We only need to go into 2,700 on a 20-day round to achieve that 18 kilos a cow. So yeah, just managing that pasture going forward. We don't need big volumes of grass, which would entail or would need mowing ahead of the cows.
Yes, Marcus?
Yeah, Elodie, question about pre-graze mowing. I'm a big fan as well, but sometimes I think topping is probably a better option. And we've just come through a period where utilisation was very poor and left a lot of crap behind at the bottom of the pasture. So if we're going ahead now and mowing in front of the cows, are we forcing them to eat rubbish that, perhaps this season when we have had poor utilisation in the previous round, perhaps topping would be a better option? You have your thoughts on that?
Yes, I would agree with that. Again, we'll be looking forward to see the results of that mowing trial to see how it does in fact affect intake in a period of surplus. So that means higher stem in the pasture if it's higher covers. Because as you just say, if you do top, you have left the cows eating the really good high energy material before, right? And then after the cows are gone and left what's less digestible, you are topping this. So obviously you're leaving some waste, but in theory you have increased intake of your cows. As opposed to pre-graze mowing, you are obviously setting your residuals by mowing everything before the cows. But then what they are going to eat, they are going to be less selective, basically. All those bites are going to grab the leaves and the stems and some dead material as well. So some work back in 1999 showed that actually some of the intake of those cows were actually lower because of a lower nutritive value of that pasture. Yeah, there was more NDF, so more fiber in there, which reflects totally the fact that there was a higher amount of stem and dead material. So, yes, unfortunately, I can't fully answer your question because we want to see the results of that recent trial, but which is ongoing. But I think I agree with you. Yes, topping is probably better in terms of intake.
With your pre-grades mowing, are you aiming to mow just ahead of the cows, or are you aiming to mow like 12 hours, 24 to get a wilt? Do you find any benefit?
So they are doing it 12 hours beforehand. Yes, that's what they are doing. They haven't been comparing 12 versus 24 hours or just beforehand, but yeah, I can have a look and get back to you if you want, but no, I've got nothing on the top of my mind.